This YouTube video was produced with the assistance of artificial intelligence. Specifically, the visuals were generated using ChatGPT, the script was composed using Claude AI, and the narration was synthesized using Edge-TTS. Validate. Definition: to confirm or prove that something is accurate, legitimate, or acceptable, to recognize or affirm the value or worth of something. Collocation: validate a claim, validate data, validate results, validate a theory, validate feelings. Synonym: confirm, verify, substantiate, authenticate. Example: the laboratory conducted multiple tests to validate the accuracy of the experimental results before publication. Independent auditors were brought in to validate the financial data presented in the annual report. A good leader takes the time to validate employees' concerns rather than dismissing them without consideration. System. Definition: an organized set of principles, procedures, or interconnected components that work together to form a complex whole or achieve a particular function. Collocation: education system, healthcare system, operating system, system failure, implement a system. Synonym: framework, structure, network, arrangement. Example: the country's healthcare system underwent a major reform to improve accessibility for rural populations. A reliable quality control system is essential for maintaining consistent standards in manufacturing. The engineers identified a critical vulnerability in the operating system that required an immediate security patch. Counterpart. Definition: a person or thing that holds a corresponding position or serves a similar function in a different organization, country, or context. Collocation: foreign counterpart, direct counterpart, meet with counterparts, counterpart in, male/female counterpart. Synonym: equivalent, parallel, opposite number, match. Example: the finance minister held bilateral discussions with her foreign counterpart to address cross-border trade concerns. The study found that employees in urban offices earned significantly more than their counterparts in rural branches. The new software offers all the features of its desktop counterpart while being optimized for mobile devices. Particular. Definition: specific, individual, or distinct from others, used to single out one thing among many, also refers to being especially careful or demanding about details. Collocation: in particular, particular attention, particular interest, particular case, nothing in particular. Synonym: specific, certain, distinct, precise. Example: the inspector paid particular attention to the safety protocols in the chemical storage area of the facility. One issue in particular stood out during the review and required immediate action from the management team. She has a particular interest in sustainable architecture and its application in developing urban communities. Eligible. Definition: having the right qualifications or meeting the necessary conditions to be chosen, receive something, or participate in something. Collocation: eligible for, eligible to vote, eligible candidates, eligible to apply, become eligible. Synonym: qualified, entitled, suitable, permitted. Example: all full-time employees who have completed 1 year of service are eligible for the company's pension plan. Students must maintain a minimum grade point average to remain eligible for the academic scholarship. Citizens over the age of 18 are eligible to vote in the upcoming national elections. Intrinsic. Definition: belonging to the essential nature of something, existing as a natural and permanent quality or characteristic rather than being added from outside. Collocation: intrinsic value, intrinsic motivation, intrinsic quality, intrinsic part, intrinsic to. Synonym: inherent, fundamental, essential, innate. Example: creativity is an intrinsic part of the design process and cannot be replaced by technology alone. Research suggests that intrinsic motivation leads to higher levels of job satisfaction than external rewards. The intrinsic value of education extends far beyond career preparation and includes personal growth and critical thinking. Coercion. Definition: The practice of persuading or forcing someone to do something through the use of threats, intimidation, or pressure rather than voluntary agreement. Collocation: use coercion, under coercion, coercion and intimidation, economic coercion, without coercion. Synonym: force, intimidation, pressure, compulsion. Example: the international community condemned the use of economic coercion as a tool for achieving political objectives. Any agreement signed under coercion may be considered legally invalid and subject to judicial review. The organization's code of conduct strictly prohibits the use of coercion or intimidation against employees. Vaccine. Definition: a biological substance administered to stimulate the body's immune system to produce protection against a specific infectious disease. Collocation: develop a vaccine, vaccine rollout, vaccine distribution, vaccine efficacy, vaccine candidate. Synonym: immunization, inoculation, vaccination, preventive treatment. Example: the rapid development of the vaccine was widely regarded as a remarkable achievement in modern medical science. Equitable vaccine distribution remains a critical challenge for public health authorities in developing nations. Clinical trials confirmed that the vaccine candidate demonstrated a high level of efficacy across all age groups. Prohibited. Definition: formally forbidden by law, regulation, or authority, not permitted or allowed under established rules. Collocation: strictly prohibited, prohibited by law, prohibited substances, prohibited activities, prohibited from. Synonym: forbidden, banned, illegal, restricted. Example: the use of personal electronic devices during examinations is strictly prohibited under university regulations. Importing certain agricultural products is prohibited by law to prevent the spread of invasive species. Employees are prohibited from disclosing confidential company information to unauthorized third parties. Overt. Definition: done or shown openly and without any attempt to hide, clearly visible or apparent rather than concealed or subtle. Collocation: overt discrimination, overt hostility, overt action, overt support, overt aggression. Synonym: open, obvious, visible, explicit. Example: the company faced legal action after employees reported instances of overt discrimination in the workplace. While overt hostility between the two nations has subsided, underlying tensions continue to affect diplomatic relations. The government's overt support for the initiative signaled a major shift in its approach to renewable energy policy. Format. Definition: the way in which something is arranged, organized, or presented, the structure, layout, or design of a document, program, or event. Collocation: file format, format of a report, standard format, digital format, change the format. Synonym: layout, structure, arrangement, design. Example: the committee decided to change the format of the annual conference to include more interactive panel discussions. All submissions must follow the standard format outlined in the journal's publication guidelines. The course material is available in both printed and digital formats to accommodate different learning preferences. Inherently. Definition: in a way that is a permanent, essential, or natural characteristic of something, by its very nature. Collocation: inherently flawed, inherently dangerous, inherently complex, inherently difficult, inherently biased. Synonym: fundamentally, naturally, essentially, innately. Example: critics argue that the current evaluation system is inherently flawed because it fails to account for qualitative factors. Managing a multinational organization is inherently complex due to differences in culture, regulation, and market conditions. No technology is inherently dangerous. Rather, it is the manner in which it is used that determines its impact. Sovereignty. Definition: the supreme authority and power of a nation or state to govern itself independently, free from external interference or control. Collocation: national sovereignty, state sovereignty, sovereignty over, protect sovereignty, sovereignty and independence. Synonym: independence, autonomy, self-governance, authority. Example: the treaty was carefully negotiated to ensure that neither country would compromise its national sovereignty. Debates over sovereignty and territorial rights have been a recurring source of tension in the region for decades. Smaller nations often emphasize the importance of protecting their sovereignty in international trade negotiations. Humanitarian. Definition: concerned with or seeking to promote the welfare and well-being of people, especially those suffering from poverty, disaster, or conflict. Collocation: humanitarian aid, humanitarian crisis, humanitarian organization, humanitarian mission, humanitarian effort. Synonym: charitable, compassionate, philanthropic, benevolent. Example: international humanitarian organizations dispatched emergency supplies to the communities affected by the devastating earthquake. The ongoing conflict has created a severe humanitarian crisis, displacing millions of civilians from their homes. She dedicated her career to humanitarian efforts, working in some of the most challenging environments around the world. Purely. Definition: entirely and exclusively, only for a particular purpose or reason, with no other element or factor involved. Collocation: purely academic, purely financial, purely coincidental, purely based on, purely for. Synonym: entirely, solely, completely, exclusively. Example: the decision to relocate the headquarters was purely financial and had nothing to do with workforce availability. The resemblance between the two products was purely coincidental, according to statements from both manufacturers. The research was conducted for purely academic purposes and was not intended for commercial application. Enable. Definition: to make something possible or provide the means, opportunity, or authority for something to happen or be done. Collocation: enable growth, enable access, enable users, enable innovation, enable collaboration. Synonym: allow, permit, facilitate, empower. Example: the new digital platform enables employees to collaborate seamlessly with colleagues in offices around the world. Government funding has enabled researchers to pursue ambitious projects that were previously considered too costly. High-speed internet infrastructure is essential to enable equal access to online education in remote communities. Consider. Definition: to think carefully about something before making a decision or forming an opinion, to regard or treat something in a particular way. Collocation: consider the options, carefully consider, consider the impact, widely considered, consider a proposal. Synonym: contemplate, evaluate, reflect on, examine. Example: the board will carefully consider all available options before making a final decision on the proposed merger. It is important to consider the long-term environmental impact of industrial development before approving new projects. The professor is widely considered one of the most influential voices in the field of behavioral economics. Level. Definition: a position on a scale of amount, quantity, importance, or difficulty, a particular standard or degree of quality, skill, or achievement. Collocation: level of expertise, at the level of, high level, entry level, skill level, advanced level. Synonym: degree, standard, rank, stage. Example: the company requires a high level of expertise in data analysis for all senior research positions. Entry-level employees receive structured mentoring to help them develop the skills needed for career advancement. Water pollution has reached alarming levels in several major rivers, posing serious risks to public health. Truth. Definition: the quality or state of being in accordance with fact or reality, something that is accepted as genuinely accurate and not fabricated. Collocation: tell the truth, truth of the matter, search for the truth, fundamental truth, undeniable truth. Synonym: fact, reality, accuracy, veracity. Example: the journalist spent years investigating the case in a determined search for the truth behind the scandal. The truth of the matter is that sustainable growth requires both innovation and responsible resource management. It is an undeniable truth that access to quality education plays a pivotal role in reducing social inequality. Stagnate. Definition: to stop developing, growing, or progressing, to become inactive, dull, or unchanged over a prolonged period. Collocation: stagnate economically. Wages stagnate, growth stagnates, allow to stagnate, stagnate for years. Synonym: decline, stall, plateau, languish. Example: without continued investment in research and development, the company's innovation pipeline will inevitably stagnate. Real wages have stagnated for over a decade, causing widespread concern about the standard of living for working families. The economy risks stagnating further if structural reforms are not implemented within the next fiscal year.